I always thought Jacob and I were fixing our marriage. He had been the one to suggest counseling, date nights, and reading relationship rebuilding books together. He'd sit across from me at the kitchen table, holding my hand, saying, "Sarah, we're doing this. We're rebuilding." I believed him. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I discovered the truth. Jacob had left his laptop open on the desk in his home office. I only needed a receipt for a tax form, but curiosity got the better of me when I saw an email draft with the subject line, "Final divorce strategy." I clicked it. My chest tightened as I read the first few lines. "We'll keep telling her the marriage rebuild story while finalizing asset transfers this month." I froze. My heart pounded, so loud I could hear it in my ears. I scrolled through his sent folder. There were weeks of back-and-forth emails between him and his lawyer, planning how to move our joint savings into his private account, how to secure the house deed in his name, and even how to limit my share of anything in the event of a divorce. He'd been treating me like a naive fool, keeping up the act of a husband who wanted to work things out while secretly plotting his exit. The worst part, one email mentioned, "Keep her calm until we finalize everything." It was like reading a script where I was the clueless extra, not the wife of 6 years. When Jacob came home that night, he smiled and kissed my cheek like nothing had happened. "Want to watch something? Maybe a movie?" he asked. I nodded. I didn't say a word. I just watched him laugh at the TV while my mind replayed every line of those emails. He thought I was clueless. He didn't know that I had already forwarded every email to my private account. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The next morning, I woke up before Jacob. He was still snoring lightly, his hand resting on my side as if nothing had changed. I slipped out of bed quietly, my mind buzzing with the same thought on repeat. Don't let him know you know. In the kitchen, I made coffee like I always did, forcing myself to keep my hand steady. Jacob walked in, smiling like the perfect husband. "Morning, babe," he said, kissing my forehead. "We should book that couple's retreat I told you about. I really think it'll help us." I looked at him, pretending to be touched. "That sounds nice, Jacob," I said softly, hiding the fact that I wanted to scream. The moment he left for work, I sat back at his desk. His laptop was password protected this time, but I remember the password, his mother's birthday. Within seconds, I was back in his email. I downloaded every email chain between him and his lawyer and forwarded them to my personal email, labeling the subject lines with dates so I wouldn't miss anything. I also found a few receipts, expensive dinners, hotel bookings. A few of them were on nights he had told me he was working late. That confirmed another suspicion. There was someone else involved. That evening, Jacob suggested we go out to eat. It was almost laughable how well he played the role of a loving husband. "I think we're really getting back on track, don't you?" he asked between bites of a steak. I forced a smile. "Yeah, we're making progress." He reached across the table to hold my hand. "I know I've been distant, Sarah, but I'm serious about us. I want to make this work." I squeezed his hand, acting like I believed him. Inside, I was boiling. He was lying through his teeth while secretly preparing to cut me out of everything. That night, while Jacob showered, I texted my best friend, Kelly. "Do you know any good divorce lawyers? I need someone ruthless." Kelly called immediately. "Sarah, what's going on? Are you and Jacob?" "Not over my dead body. I cut her off. He's planning to divorce me behind my back. I need to beat him to it. Come over tomorrow. I know someone, Margaret Gray. She's tough and she doesn't play nice." When Jacob came out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, he smiled like a man with no worries. "You look deep in thought," he said. "Just thinking about us," I replied sweetly. "I'm glad we're rebuilding." He kissed me, completely unaware that I already had his entire plan copied and saved. Lying in bed that night, I stared at the ceiling. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. If Jacob wanted a war, I would bring one, and I would make sure he lost everything he thought he could quietly take from me. The following day, I would meet Margaret, the lawyer Kelly recommended. Jacob still thought I was the calm wife, the one who trusted him blindly. But I had already decided I would file for divorce first, and I would take half before he could even blink. The next morning, I dressed with a purpose. Jacob left early, mumbling something about important client meetings. I waited until I heard his car pull out of the driveway before I grabbed my keys and headed to Kelly's house. My stomach was tight with nerves, but I kept repeating one thing in my head: get the best lawyer, file first, and make him pay. Kelly's house was as neat as always, smelling faintly of vanilla candles. She greeted me with her usual bright smile, but something about it felt off. Maybe I was just paranoid from everything I'd read the day before. "Sarah," she said, pulling me into a hug, "you look like you haven't slept." "I didn't," I admitted. "I know Jacob's cheating on me. I saw the receipts, the dinners, the hotels." My voice cracked slightly, but I forced it steady. "And he's trying to divorce me behind my back." Kelly's expression turned serious. "Oh my God, Sarah, that's terrible. But listen, I've already called Margaret Gray. She's the best. She'll handle this." 2 hours later, Kelly drove me to Margaret's office. It was in a modern building downtown, all glass panels and sharp angles. Inside, Margaret was waiting, a woman in her early 40s, sharply dressed, with a confident air that reminded me of someone who had seen and won every battle. "Sarah, I've been briefed," Margaret said, shaking my hand firmly. "Kelly told me your situation. I'm sorry you're dealing with this, but we'll make sure you get what's yours." "She's the best," Kelly chimed in with a smile. Margaret sat across from me at the large wooden desk. "Do you have proof of his intentions? Any emails, financial documents, anything that can show he's trying to cut you out?" I opened my phone and showed her the forwarded emails. Margaret scrolled through them, nodding. "This is gold," she said. "He's not just planning a divorce. He's plotting to manipulate the assets. With this, I can pressure him into a fair settlement, maybe even more than half." For the first time since I discovered Jacob's betrayal, I felt a flicker of hope. When Margaret left the room to make copies of the emails, I noticed Kelly shifting in her seat. "You're quiet," I said, narrowing my eyes. I hate seeing you go through this," she said quickly, fiddling with her phone. "Jacob is a jerk. You don't deserve this." Her tone was comforting, but there was something about her eyes, something I couldn't put my finger on. Margaret returned with the documents and handed me a folder. "I'll draft the divorce petition and serve him before he makes another move. But Sarah, don't let him know we're on to him yet. Act normal. Smile. Be the wife who knows nothing. That's how we win. Trust me," I said. "I can do that." That evening, I made dinner like always. Jacob seemed distracted, checking his phone constantly. "Is everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just work stuff," he muttered, forcing a smile. "How was your day?" "Good," I said casually. "Kelly and I went for coffee. It was nice to talk things through." At the mention of Kelly, his hand froze for a second over his glass. He recovered quickly, but I noticed. The next day, I got a call from Margaret's office, or so I thought. The number wasn't saved, but the voice on the line said, "Sarah, it's Margaret. I need you to send me all of Jacob's financial statements, bank records, property deeds, everything you can access." "Sure," I said. "Is something wrong?" "Not at all," she said smoothly. "Just routine. We need a full picture to protect you." It made sense, but something about the tone was off. She sounded rushed, less confident than before. I brushed it off, thinking I was just overthinking because of the stress. 2 days after meeting Margaret, I still hadn't seen a draft of the petition she promised to file immediately. I called her office. "Hi, it's Sarah. Any update on the filing?" Margaret's voice was calm. We're timing it right. If we file too fast, he'll panic and lock everything down. Give me 48 more hours. Okay, I said, but my gut tightened. 48 hours was enough time for Jacob to do damage, if he already knew. That night, Jacob came home early with takeout. He was relaxed. Too relaxed. I thought we could do a budget tonight, he said, setting the food down. You know, get on the same page about money. It'll help the rebuilding. Sure, I replied, pretending to be neutral. While we ate, his phone buzzed twice. He didn't check it. That wasn't like him. He usually hovered over that phone like it was his child. You're calm, I said. We're in a good place, he replied, smiling. We're fixing things. I set up bank alerts on my phone the moment he went upstairs. 10 minutes later, I got the first alert. $9,750 moved from our joint account to Hartwell Advisory Trust. Hartwell! We didn't have a trust. We didn't have an advisor with that name. I texted Margaret immediately. He's moving money. Her reply came back fast. Let him. It's traceable. We'll get it back. Stay quiet. Traceable or not, why were we waiting? In therapy the next day, Jacob controlled the narrative like a seasoned actor. I've been trying so hard to make this work, he told the therapist. I've been transparent. I've been patient. I've even suggested financial counseling to help Sarah feel safe. I watched him talk like he had rehearsed every line. The therapist turned to me. Do you feel he's trying? Yes, I said. I lied. I kept my face straight. I was watching. I wasn't reacting. After the session, I got a text from Kelly. Kelly, how did therapy go? Did he try to push you into financial counseling again? My blood ran cold. Jacob had used that exact phrase in therapy, not before. I hadn't told Kelly. Why did she know the wording? I stared at the screen. I typed, deleted, and typed again. Me, yeah. He did. Kelly, don't worry. Margaret said it's just a tactic to make you feel like he's cooperating. Don't fall for it. Margaret said. Since when were Kelly and Margaret talking without me? The next day, Margaret called. Sarah, quick update. I've reviewed the emails. We can pressure him with the asset manipulation angle, but given the short length of the marriage, a judge might not give you much. We've been married 6 years. Right, she said quickly. Still, I suggest we aim for a clean lump sum, say $25,000, and an agreement that he covers your moving costs. Better than rolling the dice. My stomach flipped. That was almost the exact number Jacob had floated in one of his emails to his lawyer. Why a lump sum? I asked. Why not half of the house and savings? Courts don't always like forensic fights unless there are kids or very large assets. We'll waste money arguing. But you told me on day one that the emails were gold, I said. They're useful for leverage, not necessarily for court. Trust me. I hung up and stared at the wall. Something was off. She was walking me backward. That night, at 11:42 p.m., another alert. $15,000 moved to Hartwell Advisory Trust. I called Margaret. No answer. I texted Kelly out of reflex. He moved more money. Kelly replied immediately. Margaret's handling it. Don't act yet. She said timing matters. She said. Kelly was repeating someone else's instructions to me. My lawyer was communicating strategies to my friend. Why? The next morning, Kelly came over with comfort breakfast. Too nice. Too fast. She set the bag on the counter, sat and watched me. We're going to nail him, she said. Margaret's already preparing the settlement letter. He's going to freak when he sees the number. What number? I asked. $25,000, she answered. It's fair. You'll be okay with that, right? I didn't move. How did you know that? I asked slowly. Kelly blinked. She told me. When? Yesterday. When she called me. To update me. Why is my lawyer updating you? I asked. Kelly stuttered. Because I told her I'm your emotional support. She thought it would help too. No, I cut her off. Why is she telling you what she hasn't told me yet? Kelly went silent. Her eyes flashed, just for a second. Guilt. Panic. A look I'd never seen on her before. I changed the topic on purpose. Thanks for the breakfast, I said flatly. I'm going to go take a shower. I didn't go to the bathroom. I went straight into the study, opened my laptop, and searched Margaret Gray attorney. I checked bar registry, disciplinary records, website bio, LinkedIn. She existed. She was real. But her firm bio listed family law for high net worth clients only. She had told me she rarely took cases like mine, but she'd make an exception. Why? I kept digging. I searched Hartwell Advisory Trust. Nothing direct. Then Hartwell Advisory plus law. A PDF popped up in cached results. An old property filing with Jacob's lawyers firm listed in Hartwell Advisory, noted as an entity related to a prior client. Same ecosystem. Same names moving in the same circles. My skin went cold. I didn't tell Kelly. I didn't call Margaret. I went to a local legal forum and posted anonymously. My lawyer is telling me to take a small lump sum despite strong written evidence. Is this normal? I got 3 replies in 20 minutes. One of them sent me a private message. Get a second opinion. Email me. I'm a family law attorney. No charge for a quick review. I sent her everything. The emails, Margaret's advice, the transfers, the $25,000 lump sum. She called me within an hour. This advice makes no sense, she said. You have leverage. If what you sent me is real, you should be asking for half plus support. Whoever told you to take $25,000 is not working for you. My heart sank, but I kept my voice flat. Could my lawyer be colluding with him? I can't accuse anyone without proof, she said carefully. But I'd fire her. Also, send me your signed retainer. I want to check a clause. I opened the PDF Margaret had emailed me on day 1. I hadn't read the fine print. I just wanted help. The second lawyer read it out loud. There's a clause here that allows her to consult with relevant interested parties for settlement efficiency. That is not standard. Who are the interested parties? Did you approve anyone? No. Then you need to lock your accounts, pull every document she has access to, and stop speaking to your friend about legal strategy. Immediately, everything went silent in my head. I ended the call, picked up my phone, and texted Kelly. Don't worry about coming over tonight. I'm fine. Just need to rest. She replied too fast. Of course. I'll tell Margaret to keep me posted. There it was. She said it out loud, like it was normal. I stared at the message for a full minute, then typed only 2 words back. Tell who? No reply. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the words, tell Margaret to keep me posted. It wasn't a slip. It was a confession. Kelly was involved. But how deep? By 6 a.m., I had a plan. I wasn't going to confront her or Margaret yet. I needed proof, real proof that they were working with Jacob. I decided to set a trap. I called Margaret's office mid-morning. Hi, it's Sarah. I need to pause all actions for now, I said, keeping my voice calm. Margaret sounded surprised. Pause? Why? We're so close to wrapping this up. I just need to think. Don't send anything out yet. I'll call you when I'm ready. She hesitated for a second. Okay, but don't wait too long. Jacob might make a move. Thanks for the advice, I said. I hung up and blocked her number. Next, I changed all my online banking passwords and removed Jacob's name from the alerts I had set up. I even opened a separate account and transferred a chunk of our joint funds into it, my half. If they were trying to cut me out, I would not go down quietly. Around noon, Jacob called me out of the blue. He never called during work. Hey, Sarah, how's your day? His voice was almost too cheerful. Fine, I said cautiously. I was thinking we should plan that weekend trip we talked about. Just you and me. A fresh start. Sure, I said, even though my blood was boiling. The timing was suspicious. Did he know something? Or was Kelly feeding him updates? Later that day, I called Kelly. Hey, just checking in, I said, pretending to sound tired but casual. How are you holding up? She asked quickly. Not great. I'm thinking of just giving up. Maybe accepting the $25,000. It's not worth the fight. Don't do anything yet, she said too fast. I'll talk to Margaret, okay? No, I said sharply. Don't talk to her about me anymore. I'll handle it. Sarah, I said I'll handle it. I repeated, my voice firm. There was silence. Then Kelly forced a laugh. Fine. I was just trying to help. But the tremor in her voice told me everything I needed to know. That evening, I got a call from the second lawyer I had spoken to earlier. Sarah, I've been looking into Margaret Gray. She's legitimate, but I found something interesting. About 6 months ago, she represented a client in a property dispute against a firm connected to your husband's attorney. My heart pounded. Are you saying they know each other? They've faced off before. It's not illegal for them to talk, but the way your file is being handled, it's not right. I clenched my jaw. I need to find out if Kelly is involved in this too. Then bait her, the lawyer said. Feed her something false and see if it gets back to him. That night, I crafted a fake message on my phone, an email draft I made look like I was preparing to move my share of the money to a secret account. I left the laptop open on the kitchen counter when Kelly came by the next day just to check on me. She tried to act normal, but I caught her eyes flicking toward the screen. She barely stayed 10 minutes before rushing out. The next morning, Jacob stormed into the kitchen. Why are you moving money to a secret account? He demanded, his face red. I stared at him, my stomach sinking. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb, Sarah. Kelly told me. He stopped mid-sentence, realizing what he had just said. Kelly told you? I repeated slowly. My voice was ice. Why would Kelly tell you anything about my finances? He stammered. We're just concerned about you. I laughed. I laughed so hard it startled him. Concerned? You and Kelly. That's rich. I grabbed my phone and called Kelly right in front of him. Kelly, I said, Jacob just told me you've been sharing my plans with him. Do you want to explain that? She was silent for a beat too long. Then, Sarah, listen, it's not what you think. Not what I think. I cut her off. Were you the one he was taking to those hotel dinners? Is that why you're feeding him my plans? Jacob tried to interject, but I raised my hand. Shut up, Jacob. I'm talking to her. Kelly's voice cracked. Sarah, I didn't mean for it to go this far. You just what? I spat. You just decided to sleep with my husband and then help him screw me over in court. She hung up. Jacob started to say something, but I walked right past him. I was done pretending. I called my new lawyer. File everything, I said. Emails, bank transfers, all of it. I want him served. And make sure Kelly's name is all over the discovery process. If they want a war, I'll give them one. The morning after the confrontation, I didn't look at Jacob, I didn't speak to him, and I didn't even touch the breakfast he left on the counter like nothing had happened. I was done playing along. At 9 a.m., my new lawyer, Claire Donovan, called me. Sarah, I've reviewed everything. We're filing first thing this week, she said with firm confidence. What do you need from me? I asked. Access to every joint account, property documents, and anything showing Jacob's attempts to hide assets. We'll freeze the accounts before he can drain them. That day, Claire and I went through every statement, every account I had forwarded from Jacob's emails. She prepared the necessary motions. Once this is filed, he can't legally transfer or hide money, she explained. If he tries, the court will consider it fraudulent. Good, I said, feeling my first breath of relief in days. By the afternoon, Claire had already initiated an emergency motion with the court to place a hold on all major transactions connected to Jacob's name. When Jacob realized the bank alerts had stopped letting him move money, he stormed into the kitchen. "What did you do, Sarah?" "Nothing you weren't already doing to me," I replied calmly, sipping my coffee. "Don't play games. The accounts are locked." "How the hell did you?" "I hired someone competent." I cut him off. "Not someone working for you behind my back." He went pale. "You can't just—" "Oh, I can," I said, my voice steady. "You wanted to divorce me in secret. Consider this your wake-up call. I'm filing first, and I'll take half of everything before you can blink." I wasn't done. I forwarded every email between Kelly and me to Claire, including the messages that showed Kelly discussing settlement numbers that matched Jacob's lawyer's emails. "Interesting," Claire said. "This could help prove collusion. We can subpoena her communications with Jacob if needed." "Do it," I said. "If she's going to betray me, I want her name dragged into this mess, too." That evening, I set a trap for Jacob and Kelly. I sent a fake email from my private account to my new lawyer, but I deliberately CC'd Kelly. The email read, "I'm considering taking a low offer if Jacob agrees to let me keep the house. Don't tell anyone yet." Within an hour, Jacob called me. "I think we can make this work," he said, too smoothly. "You want the house? Let's talk about that $25,000. I smiled to myself. Busted. Kelly had passed it on instantly. 2 days later, a process server showed up at Jacob's office and handed him the divorce papers. He called me within minutes. "What the hell is this, Sarah? You're suing me." "You started this, remember?" I said coldly. "I just finished it." "You don't know who you're messing with. I'll fight this tooth and nail." "Good," I said, "because I'm ready to bury you with your own emails." That night, Kelly showed up at my house uninvited. She looked frantic. "Sarah, please, can we talk?" "You have 3 minutes," I said, arms crossed. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said quickly. "Jacob told me you two were practically done." "He said—" "I don't care what he told you," I interrupted. "You were my best friend, and you helped him try to destroy me. That's all I need to know." She tried to explain, but I slammed the door in her face. For the first time, I felt a sense of control. Claire and I met the next day. "Our next step is discovery," she said. "We'll demand all his financial records and communications. If Kelly was involved, we'll subpoena her too. He's going to have to explain a lot to a judge." "Good," I said, nodding. "I want them both exposed." For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was one step ahead. Jacob and Kelly thought they could outsmart me. They had no idea what was coming. The first court date was set for a Wednesday morning. I arrived with Claire by my side, armed with a thick folder of Jacob's emails, receipts, and bank transfers. Jacob walked in with his lawyer, looking confident, like he was still holding all the cards. Kelly was there too, sitting in the back like she had every right to witness my humiliation. But this time, I wasn't the one being humiliated. Claire opened with a calm but sharp tone. "Your Honor," she began, "we have evidence that Mr. Jacobs here was not only planning to secretly divorce my client but also moving marital funds to conceal assets." She placed a stack of printed emails on the table, each one with Jacob's name and timestamp. His lawyer objected, but Claire cut him down. "Would you like me to read aloud the part where he writes, 'We'll keep telling her the rebuild story while we secure the house in my name'?" Jacob's face went white. He looked at Kelly, who refused to meet his eyes. Then Claire brought up the text messages. "Your Honor, we also have communications between my client's supposed best friend and Mr. Jacobs, where they shared private legal strategies behind my client's back. These communications suggest collusion and an attempt to manipulate a fair settlement." I turned to look at Kelly, who looked like she was about to faint. Her face was bright red, her eyes wide. Jacob's lawyer tried to pivot. This isn't relevant. On the contrary, Claire said, it demonstrates bad faith during settlement negotiations. My client deserves more than just half. She deserves punitive damages. Jacob leaned over to his lawyer, whispering furiously. I watched him squirm in his chair, and for the first time, I didn't feel an ounce of pain. I felt power. The judge looked directly at Jacob. Mr. Jacobs, do you deny sending these emails and making these transfers? Jacob hesitated. I don't deny the emails, but the context. Context! Claire snapped. The context is that you plan to deceive and financially undermine your wife while pretending to fix the marriage. That is fraud. By the end of the hearing, Jacob's lawyer had no choice but to settle. Claire pushed hard, and I watched Jacob's shoulders slump as he agreed to half the house, half the savings, and monthly spousal support for the next 18 months. Kelly quietly slipped out of the courtroom before I could even look at her. I didn't care anymore. She was no longer my problem. That evening, Jacob showed up at the house to talk. You didn't have to do this, Sarah, he said, looking defeated. Yes, I did, I replied. You tried to take everything from me. You and Kelly both. She told you, he asked quietly. She didn't have to. You both slipped up. I'm just smarter than the two of you combined. He didn't argue. He just left. 2 weeks later, I finalized everything with Claire. The settlement was signed, the accounts divided, and the house was officially mine. Kelly had blocked me on everything, probably too ashamed to face me. I stood in my kitchen that day, sipping wine, and felt something I hadn't felt in months, peace. Jacob and Kelly thought they were playing chess while I was still learning the rules. They were wrong. I had learned fast, and I had won.